Welcome to the AIPC interviews, where I talk to members of the Artful Eye photography community, among others, about them. It is July 16th, 2020, and in this episode, it's a unique episode because the only voice you're going to hear is mine. When I asked Ithalu Dominguez if she'd do an interview, she was not comfortable with her English speaking skills, so I agreed to read out her answers if she sent them to me. I'm so glad she did because her macro work is amazing, and that's what we'll be talking about somewhat today. So if you're familiar with the show, you'll know that I generally ask similar questions each time, and I sent those questions to Ithalu via email, and she was kind enough to send me her responses. So usually the first question I ask my guest is, how did you get into iPhone photography? Ithalu says, I've always been interested in photography ever since I was a kid, but unfortunately I didn't have the opportunity to have a camera until I started studying in high school. It was then that I started taking photos for my school projects. I decided to study graphic design in college, and one of the subjects I had was photography. So my grandfather bought me a camera for this class. I was so happy. I wanted to take pictures of every beautiful thing I could find from the nature around me. That was the moment when I realized how much I love photography. So yeah, being able to... I'm going to interject now and again with my own comments on things that Ithalu says here. Being able to capture and hold on to those types of memories are a surefire way to get hooked on photography. Even the fact that her grandfather bought her a camera is a special part of all of it. So I think that's pretty cool. My next question would be, what phone did you start out with, and what are you using now? And that question usually leads to, gear and accessories that my guest might be using. So Ithalu says, my first iPhone was the iPhone 5S. And as you know, I love macro photography, so I started to research which lens would be best to take those types of photos. That's how I found Squid Cam and the Stylus. And Stylus is spelled with a Z or a Z if you're in the US. Instead of an S. She continues with, those lenses were relatively new at the time and had very good reviews. I started taking macro photos with them on my phone and had very positive feedback on my pictures. Later I switched to the iPhone 6S, then the iPhone 10, and currently I'm using the iPhone 11 Pro with a great collection of macro lenses from companies that include DC Kina, Holoclip, Moment, and BitPlay. All of them have been amazing. In 2015, I was honored to be an ambassador for Stylus, and I was lucky enough that they chose some of my macro photos for their own catalog. So there's a piece on the Stylus website featuring Ithalu, and it reads as follows. My name is Ithalu Dominguez. I was born in Oaxaca, Mexico. I hope I got that right. I moved to the United States in 2008 and currently live in Montebello, California. I have always been passionate about photography and painting. I love to take macro photos because I like the small, intricate details that can be overlooked at first sight. I feel motivated to capture nature's tiny masterpieces so everyone can enjoy these beautiful creations as I do. That's one of the many things I love about the Stylus kit. I use my Stylus kit for macros and the wide angle for landscapes. I really like how crisp and sharp the macro lens is because it gives me more detailed shots. Every time I go for a walk, I always bring my Stylus Revolver 4-in-1 kit because I always find amazing things to capture. I can always count on the Stylus to get the photo I want. So I'll put a link to that piece in the show notes, and you can check that out, and I think there might be a photo or two of hers in with that as well. So Ithalu continues to say that BitPlay is using some of her macro photos on their website as well. So I checked them out, and they're pretty cool. And they're a really good size. You can really see lots of detail in them. So I'll also link to that. My next question for Ithalu was, what is your creative process? She says, for the creative process, I usually use the Darkroom app. It is easy to use and fast. I can edit raw files, and I love the curve option as well as the selective color tool. Another one that I love as well is Snapseed. It's free and it has all the controls to edit my pictures. I also use Lightroom and Ultralight, depending on what kind of light and mood that I'm looking for to show in my pictures. I love using the camera app Halide for macros. For me, it's one of the best apps for manual focus. It has focus peaking, which is perfect for macros. It's a very useful tool, and also you can shoot in raw files. So I have to agree with her on this one. There are other good camera apps that have focus peaking, sure, and I can only speak for myself here. Halide is just so well designed and intuitive that it just keeps me coming back to it. For me personally, it's my daily driver for taking pictures. I'd say I use it 99% of the time. So Ithalu continues here. I don't use a tripod or flash. All my photos are taken handheld. That way I don't miss a chance to take good pictures of bugs or little flowers and find the best angles for them. In these interviews, I like to ask folks if there's anywhere where they'd like to see their photography take them, or do they have any aspirations for their photography? So Ithalu responded with, I love to take photos and share them on social media. It's a hobby for me, and I really enjoy it. I'm not looking to be famous or anything. I just want to show and share all the beautiful little things that are around us. That's one of the reasons I've uploaded some of my pictures on the pexels.com website, so anyone can download them for their personal use. So that's very kind of Ithalu to do that, and there's other places where photographers give away their stuff too. One notable site that you may have heard of is Unsplash, and so that it's a very short interview because it's just written out through an email, but that's my interview with Ithalu Dominguez. She certainly takes amazing macro photos with her iPhone, and I just couldn't wait to get her, to try to get her on the show for an interview, but to be able to at least get the answers from her is okay. I totally respect her for not wanting to do the interview on Skype like I usually do. It's sometimes scary enough talking to some stranger about photography, and when you aren't comfortable with your English speaking capabilities, only you know what that comfort level is. I mean, nobody else would know, but it's totally cool to decline the call. But I applaud Ithalu for agreeing to answer my questions and have this interview. She has some fans for sure in the Tiny Shutter crew. And every time we look for a post pick of the week, definitely one of her photos gets our attention, and we have to kick ourselves because we can't pick her every week. We have to be fair, even though we've joked in the past about picking her photos every episode and just forgetting everyone else, but we would never do that. So thank you, Ithalu, for your responses and for sharing your wonderful images with the world. You can find Ithalu on Dayflash with the username Ithalu. That's spelled Ithalu. And on Instagram, and her username there is Itha_Mar, so ITHA_MAR. And on Twitter at Ithasud, or Ithasud, I'm not sure how she pronounces that, but it's ITHASUD. And she has a wonderful showcase of her images on pexels.com. That's PEXELS.com, where you can just search for her username, Ithalu. I'm going to have links to all this stuff in the show notes too, so you'll be able to find her quite easily. So just as a reminder, I'll be recording these shows whenever the chance arises, so there's, there won't necessarily be a regular release schedule. So just watch your podcast app or the website for new episodes. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Downcast, Overcast, just about any podcatcher that you might use on iOS and Android. And it's also on iHeartRadio. Just search for Artful Eye Photography interviews and look for the cover photo of a microphone. All the episodes and show notes of the Artful Eye Photography interviews are available at artfulipc.com. And if you're not a member of the community, that's okay, but just drop by and see what we're all about. You can check us out at artfulipc.club. So with that, until next time, have a great day, everybody.